Aloha, everyone. Welcome back to Multifamily Live. I am super excited about our next guest, Dawn Berube. I have known Dawn for years now. I've actually known Dawn and her mom, especially, since I got into real estate, since we started the Multifamily Live New Jersey meetup, which actually Dawn has taken over with her mom. So Dawn Berube is the founder and managing partner of EDJ Acquisitions with her awesome mom, Selena. Dawn has been in multiple capacities of real estate since 2015 when she rehabbed and flipped a few single-family homes with her mom and dad. When her mom, Selena, who has been in real estate in multiple capacities since the 1980s, wanted to go into multifamily syndication, they partnered and created EDJ Acquisitions. So again, welcome to Multifamily Live, Dawn.
Hi, Pili. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
So excited, so honored to have you on. I feel like we've grown up together because we've known each other for years. I've especially known your mom since we started in New Jersey. So it has been quite some time. And I want to take people through the foundations of your journey, because this is Foundation Friday. So let's do that. Let's do just that. How did you get into real estate?
Wow. I want to say, like, really looking back at it all, I probably got into real estate subconsciously when I was a little kid, to be honest. You know, it was downloaded into me at some point during my lifetime when I was a kiddo, because my mom and dad, a little bit about my mom, she had gone to like Les Brown, things, webinars and stuff like that. And they talked about doing, creative financing, because this was back in a time where interest rates, if people think they're crazy now, they were through the roof then. I always hear that from my mom. Yes. And she saw it, had always been interested in real estate, and they literally jumped right into a 20 unit in Newark, New Jersey, creatively financing the thing. My mom was brilliant. I look at her as like just so smart, because she said, let's get in, let's do it. It was a property that she got owner financing on for 10 years, holding a note. And it was so new in that her own lawyer made her sign a CYA. So, she got interested, and I always heard about it. At first, I thought I was moving to Newark, New Jersey, because we went to go visit, and I was like, we're moving, and then it became, a lot of discussions throughout my life, especially those 10 years before she then sold it and stuff. It was always in the house. The crazy part is, I guess I always thought it was not good, because there were always, like, as we know in multifamily, there's always things that come up, and you have to know how to react to those things, and handle them. And she, sometimes I heard some of the things that were maybe not so great. So I think I always got a little nervous about, real estate really for a while there, but it was always within. It was always like, downloaded in. Fast forward years, years and years and years and years. I was doing my thing with my training, with my clients, with
talk about what you do. Like, what is your
I am by trade a kinesiologist and an exercise physiologist. I have my BS and my MS. And I worked with a lot of like triathletes and pregnant women and, you name it, cancer survivors, a lot of swimmers, marathoners, because that was my field. I was a competitive swimmer. I was a marathoner. So I always worked with clients on mindset and action and doing. So I loved doing that. I coached, I did everything, but I always felt like there was something else I needed to be doing. I wanted to do something with business. And real estate kind of related. And so we did a couple of fix and flips back in the day. But I wasn't I liked it. But I wasn't quite ready to jump in, and mom always talked about multifamily. So it's been in my periphery for a long time.
It was downloaded into you back in the 80s when your mom first started getting into real estate. She kept on talking about it. Maybe she talked a little bit too much about the bad stuff, some of the good stuff, but you always knew that the thing is, she laid that foundation without even knowing it. It goes to show you, like, the things that we tell our kids or the things that our kids overhear really, really, like, it lays down a foundation for them. So, like, for Jason and I, we like to take our kids to our buildings. Our buildings don't always look the best. In fact, they see them when they look really bad. And then as we start to build and as we start to uplift the building and reposition the building, they get to see the changes. And the last time we went to go visit one of our buildings here in Murfreesboro, there was a little mobile library that was parked outside for the kids in the neighborhood. Whereas so cool. A couple of years back, you wouldn't see any kids in this neighborhood. Right. Now it's a kid-friendly neighborhood. Yeah. So back to you and your foundation as a kid. Thank you for walking that through with us. Now I'd like to know, you're jumping into multifamily, you're getting full in. What did you do to jump into multifamily with your mom?
Yeah, so mom had she's good. She knew how to kind of get me in there. She had definitely she knew you and Jason, right? So she was going to meetups and she was still educating herself, even though I wasn't quite there yet. I was having my kiddos. I was kind of trying to figure out where I was going, mom to two little munchkins and what am I doing? But mom heard of somebody coming in the area too about like a multifamily thing. And she's like, maybe you should go, mom guilt a little bit. Maybe you should go and check this out. It was like a snowy, it was a snowy day. I'm like, all right, I'll go. And I heard something. I was like, yeah, we need to do this, right? I don't know how yet, but we need to jump in, right? And I think that was me getting just kind of understanding that it was time for me to move in the direction where I really wanted to go. And, talking about our kiddos, right? They're my reason why. My husband, my kids, that's my foundation, right? That's my, why there. And I knew I needed for myself and for them to do something more that was going to combine kind of all of my trainings into the next step. And so there we go. And my mom talked about you guys in at the meetups. And I thought, okay, let me meet these people.
Let me see who they are. People in New Jersey saying they can do.
Yeah. Well, I think we also at the time really liked knowing that somebody from the area, mom wanted that connection a little bit. Like, who do we know in the area? She loved you guys. And so I thought, okay, let me check them out.
At the time, what do we call the meetup? It was New Jersey Multifamily Meetup.
Yes.
It was actually really easy. And we were one of the first ones in New Jersey only talking about multifamily. You had tons of other RIAs talking about all the real estate, but we only wanted to talk about multifamily. That's what we said. That's what we focused on. So we started there. You started coming to the meetups. What was the next step for you?
I always, being a coach myself, I always felt that having a great mentor and a great coach was going to propel me to the next level. I'm very accountable. I'm very determined when I put my mind to something, but I wanted somebody who was going to really guide me into moving into the next space. And so that was important. And so when we talked with you and Jason, I just knew that that's where we needed to be. Like I said, coaching and mentoring is a big part of my life. And I wanted that support. I wanted that guidance. I wanted that inspiration. And I wanted to just keep going in that space and learn.
Amazing. So you started to learn. You started to grow, and we're actually going to, because we can go through some pretty foundational stuff, but I want to get to this ultimate foundational thing because you just completed and took down and closed your first large multifamily. Yay! So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's dig in. How did you find it? Number one.
This property has been a year-long labor of love. I say. It's interesting. Myself and another partner, we had found probably the property at the exact same time. And both of us were looking at it. We submitted it for a deal review. And Ronan, reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you guys like to do the deal review together? This is, you're both looking at it, and I think it would be beneficial to look at this together." And so we went in, we had a deal review with Chad, and we got done, and we looked at each other and said, "Okay, let's submit an LOI." So we immediately jumped in, submitted the LOI, and we kept kind of waiting. We didn't hear right away, and then all of a sudden we were headed towards PSA, purchase and sale agreement, and moving towards closing this property. Lo and behold, we come to find out that there's a long story behind it, but the gentleman who was one of the partners in the deal and the seller, he was apparently in foreclosure. Nobody knew it, and he had an auction date. We come to find out the auction date was like a week away from us doing the rest of our due diligence and kind of really going deeper. And he, in order to stop the auction date, he decided to file for bankruptcy. So he put the property in bankruptcy. And at that point, our lenders, all the partners were like, "Hey, I don't think we can go much forward because we're going to lose our lending. We don't know how long this is going to take." And so we had to walk away. So we started this process in like March, and then we had to walk away in July of 2022. So this has been like a longer process. We let it go. We were looking at other things, highest and best and some others, And in November, come to find out that it kind of came back to us. The bankruptcy trustee knew of us and knew that we were in it. And there was so much other litigation that she was dealing with that she's like, "Hey, do you guys want to maybe purchase this property again? Let's work on it." So I analyzed, we got in it, and in January of 2023, we were under contracts. And it's because it's a bankruptcy, it's a different sort of process. It's a longer process. There's bidders, there's the courts, so we actually just closed in June 12th. Mm-hmm. And here we are.
Here we are. So let's walk through some of the finances and funding on this, because let's get to the foundations of it.
Yes.
Let's talk about it a little bit. So tell me what the purchase price was and some of the funding for it.
Yeah, so the purchase price was $5.7 million. It's an interesting, time right now because interest rates and things kept, bumping up, and was the Fed gonna, hike up interest rates again. So we had originally gotten a certain interest rate, and then we wound up moving to a 7.25 interest rate, I believe. We were originally going to have like a 71% LTV, loan to value, but we went down to a 66% loan to value, and we originally had CapEx costs in there, and then they took those away. So, here's the interesting thing about all of it. It is, one, we have fabulous mentors and partners on this property. And so it was talking it through and figuring out, how do we make this work now? Because, we still had a certain raise, and how do we make this work with our investors? But we did, and it was a $2.1 or $2.2 million raise. And it still, worked out, and here we are, ready to really dive in the next several years.
So here we are. So you just closed. So for any of my newer investors that are listening to this, who's just like, "I want to get to the first one. I want to get to the first one." Yes. Wow, she went through kind of like this whole roller coaster ride of all the things. Once closing hit, what's the next step? Because that's something that people rarely talk about. Like closing hits, what's after that? Is it all easy peasy, lemon squeezy?
No, here's no. But here's the thing about it is, I am one who takes a moment to like celebrate it. You know, like we've been working
Good.
very hard on this, and this was fully, actually practicing the art of patience with doing and being active in what you had to learn that. But you also have to know that things are always going to arise, whether it's during the funding process or, banks taking what we thought we were going to have and it switching it. And you have to put your problem solving caps on, right? And so now going into, we closed, it's immediately, hey, what do we got to do next? I mean, now you're in it. Our whole focus in multifamily is let's make this a great place for people to live, better the community, from where you left it, make it better throughout the time that you're there, and give great, amazing opportunities and returns for your investors, right? Like it's not just one thing, it's all of these things. And I take them very seriously. I'm so happy we closed this, and now it's the next step in the journey, but it is the next step for making this a great home and making it a great investment for your investors. And so, okay, how are we going to do that? What's our business plan? Where are we going with this now? Right. And so we were immediately on the phone with the property manager. We were, kind of doing the next steps. We have a call this week with all of the partners, with property management to figure out, okay, like how are we implementing our business plan? What are we doing to go forward? And that's what it is, right? So it's exciting. We closed this first one, but it's also how are we going to do really good for the people involved in this, whether they're tenants or investors or ourselves.
I love it because we just got to walk through kind of your own timeline, how you got started, how it went, how you learned, how it went again, and finding this deal. And taking it a year and throughout, it wasn't like within that year, you're just like, okay, I'm just going to wait for this deal. I remember going through, best offers with you. I remember going through some mindset things and going through this roller coaster within our membership and within our friendship, and knowing that you have gotten to this pinnacle, this top, and taking it even that step forward and taking this deal to the finish is going to be monumental. So I cannot wait to see what happens with this deal. Jason and I are also partnered up with you. So we are excited to be on this deal with you. It feels like it's been some time in the making. So let's get this one done correctly. And like you said, for our tenants, because if we take care of our tenants, we'll take care of our investors.
Absolutely. And we are so very grateful for you and Jason and Chad and Bill. I mean, I don't know where we'd be. Well, I'm just so grateful. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it's something that I feel like I've been working for probably since I was a kiddo with the downloads, right? Like it's really a process, but it's always about focus and taking the steps to do it and recognizing through this that it's not a sprint, right? It is a marathon. And so you're going to have the mindset challenges. I mean, this is what I do with, my clients, and, and you need people in the community to build you up. You need your mentors to build you up. I said to my mom actually the other day, I said, there's something really, I get it with like my own clients when they make a breakthrough or they really kind of hit that mark, or even if they fell short of that mark, right? But they did amazing and they did their best and they went forward, that they were always looking to make me proud as well as themselves, right? Because there's that connection, right? You're connected, you're entangled with each other, right? And I said to Mom, I said, God, I feel the same way with Jason and Pili and the mentors, because it's a proud thing for all of us to have accomplished this goal. And we are so incredibly blessed to have the mentors who pulled us through with that mindset and pulled us into where we are today.
Well, thank you. And I am honored to know you. I consider you my friend, and I am celebrating this win with you and for you. And it's going to be, how about this? Let's schedule another podcast for a year from now. Let's talk about this deal, and we'll talk about where we're at with this deal a year from now. Because you're at the beginning. This is the first deal you're doing. I know that Jason's out there taking a look at the deal again, doing some due diligence on it. And I cannot wait to see what happens with this deal a year from now. Yeah. So before I let you go, Dawn, I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
For anyone who's looking to get into multifamily, what is some foundational, what's one foundational aspect of multifamily that you think they should focus on?
Well, I mean, first, I always believe having a good mentor coach is imperative, right? Like the game has changed. When mom went back and did it back then, things are very different now, right? And so you need guidance, support, education. We do a meetup, so there's one way to get guidance, support, education, right? There's groups that we're involved in, guidance, support, education, right? But I also think that education is in the doing, right? Like you have to do. You have to take that first step, whatever that is, getting the education, getting somebody to inspire you, going through materials to understand just basic things like, what is a multifamily? What is a syndication? What does it take to do a joint venture? Basic things, choosing your market. But I think education and mentorship is huge.
So education and mentorship to solidify the foundations of what you're trying to do. And that's, for my audience, that's not only in multifamily or real estate, that's in life.
Yeah.
Finding those people that you can get the education from and solidifying your path in that direction. So Dawn, if my audience members want to get to know you, want to get to know more about you, where can they go to reach you?
I'm on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, EDJ Acquisitions. You can also just find me, Dawn Hillenmayer Berube. I'm there. Of course, Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm in as Dawn Berube on those.
Perfect. So we'll have some of those links down below in the show notes. Thank you so very much, Dawn, for living life with me. This has been an exciting ride, and I cannot wait to see where we go with it next.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a true honor.
And for everyone else that's listening, so much aloha, love, peace in your day. If you loved what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And look up Dawn. She has so much to tell you. And if you want to invest with her, please reach out. Aloha.
Bye.